Don't look! Don't look! I accidentally pushed the button apparently and it went through all the pictures. Close your eyes. And welcome to True Love Knows No Clown. Fanfic Friday a little later than was supposed to be, but better late than never. And I, in my Kuja cosplay, which is legitimately what I bought this for, many years ago. There we go. Hey, Jeff. If I had a feather, it would be perfect. Then I would actually look like him a little bit. The color's a little off, but I think it's because in the original game his hair was purpler, and then in Dissidia it's more silvery. But obviously I'm not going to be able to wear this the whole time. I got to put my glasses back on. But I couldn't resist using the wig for its intended purpose for the first time in my life. I've always wanted to cosplay Kuja and just never had the time or money because his costume is super intensive. I cannot read comments right now because I am very bad eyeballs. But I see people are commenting. Hello. I see that it's filling up a little bit. I just can't read the words because of my beautiful cosplay. But yeah, I guess I should take this off now. It's me, not Kuja. I sincerely love Kuja. For those who don't know, since this is a little bit of a crossover game, sort of, it involves Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy Dissidia. Kuja's the bad guy from Final Fantasy IX. He redeems himself. You know, he has a turnaround. But he is the bad guy and is the brother of the main character, which is a big spoiler. Spoiler! Sorry, but that's, if you're listening today, that's gonna come up. Hey, everybody. Odd Molly, Jeff, E.T., Surfin, Delvin, Lobsel, Cygnus. Who else have I missed? Everybody. Pablo. Welcome, WWE. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So yes, this does cross a couple of different fan groups, I guess. If you're into Final Fantasy, you probably know a little bit of this, but I'm going to preface a little just because it could be very confusing for folks who have no info. Kefka's the bad guy from 6. He is literally the worst. Like, just does horrible things. Horrible things. In my defense, as a kid, I had not played Final Fantasy VI. I only knew Kefka from Dissidia, where he's kind of just a goofy, weird clown. So I did not write him as a horrible monster, which he actually is in this Final Fantasy VI game. So that's kind of why I think my younger self was so, able to write a romantic story about this character who obviously never, he has no love in his heart. Nothing. And Kuja is a far more redeemable character. He does bad things for convoluted reasons, and then in the end he turns around and he tries to redeem himself. Final Fantasy Dissidia is a crossover of all the Final Fantasy games from 2000 something, 10 and back, and then eventually 12 got added anyway. And it's a fighting game, so it's like, your Mortal Kombat, your Street Fighters, different style, but anyway. Each character that you can play has a little short story that you can play through. That's their story arc, and then it's, it's over. It's very short. They're kind of connected together. And Zidane is the hero of Final Fantasy IX. His story is the one that is being discussed in this fiction. It's basically the bad guy's perspective of Zidane's story. So they're going to talk about things happening where you're going to be like, wait, did that happen in the story? No, it did not. It's just my younger self's attempt at exploring the bad guy's viewpoint. So, enough putting it off. Oh, God. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I guess I gotta get started now with the actual reading. Oh, boy. Oh, it's full of cringe, y'all. I looked back over it today to get prepared, and it's something. All right. Here we go. I am not irrelevant. His name sends spasms of rage through my body each time I heart it. Garland. Each time I hear it. Garland. Though I know that the armored warrior is not the same as the man who created and then abandoned me, I cannot help but hate him. The name is a disease, and hatred is a trait that comes to me easily. Asterisk. We already need explanations. In Final Fantasy IX, there's a character named Garland who is kind of Kuja's dad. He's bad. He's horrible. He's Kuja's dad and he's bad. And then in Final Fantasy Dissidia, Garland is a different character. And so I was like writing about how Kuja would react to another dude being named Garland, I guess. But that's why, if that paragraph made no sense, it's a bunch of Final Fantasy references. All right. I am not replaceable. I didn't put irreplaceable, I put replaceable. Seeing my brother on the other side of the battlefield angers me greatly. We'd always been enemies, right until the end. But I had come to peace with him. I'd thought the battles and the war was all over. Yet suddenly it had returned in the blink of an eye in the same form of Zidane, my brother back to kill me once again. I hate him. I am not worthless. When Chaos put his claim on me and dragged me into his war, I was as I had always been. Bitter, frustrated, ready to release my anger on any nearby target, Zidane especially. And I was lonely, despised by the enemy for hurting their poor monkey, abhorred by my teammates who viewed me as an upstart rookie. It hardly concerned me, as it was no different than what my life had been like. But I was determined not to be abused, abandoned, or cast aside again. I would not be forgotten. My hatred, and though I would not admit it, my fear drove me into a frenzy during battle. That was when I caught his eye. He saw my hate and felt it too. He saw my fear and laughed. For him, laughter was more natural than breathing. And thus it was that in the midst of my anger, an alliance was formed between the most unlikely of candidates, Kefka, Palazzo, and me. A performance of such parameters had never been acted out before, nor even thought of, and it would be one to change me forever. I should say, Kuja's a theater kid. His story is very heavily associated with the theater. He talks like he's in a play all the time. Thank you, folks who have been donating. Welcome. I saw a few other names popping up. Hey, Dreaming of a Tree. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Whee! How wonderful! Absolutely brilliant! The ultimate battle of Dumb and Dumber, and I get to run amok with all of them and destroy everything! Whee! Ugh, these heroes with their flowing capes and shiny swords and stupid fucking hair! How many times do I have to level up before my beautiful blonde locks can defy gravity? Which parent was the chocobo cloud? Mommy or daddy? Ha ha! And the villains... The bad guys? Son of a submariner, 3 skanky whores, 4 idiot brutes in armor, a mama's boy, a drunkard, and a partridge in a pear tree. They're all idiots. I hate them. It's also so funny. Blood against blood, lover against lover, because Sephiroth is so fucking the chocobo. How cruel, how magnificent. I don't care about any of them. Not a one. I'm just here to cause chaos, to move the pieces in the way I want, so everything blows to smithereens. I decided to help that Kuja fellow bait his little brother to make everything more interesting. If we captured one of the goody two-shoes, the others would just lose their minds, and the little monkey would be especially upset since it was his darling brother doing the kidnapping. What fun! So I offered my assistance to the mage to spice everything up, to make it interesting. Interesting indeed. I hate that laugh so much. Why does he have to laugh like that? Hello, Alice. Thanks for joining us. And Lester, yay. Thank you. I hear Majora's Mask OST music when that's happening. That's a good segue to say, I had thought about this last week and forgot to ask. How would folks feel about a little bit of music in the background? Because I'm not sure, would it distract or would it be, would it help the scenario? Because I feel like it's always so quiet when it's just me talking. I'm used to a video game playing in the background. But anyway, feel free to let me know in the comments how you would feel about that. I was very used to having eyes on my back for all sorts of reasons. In Alexandria, there had been many who did not trust me, for good reason. They would face me with a smile, but once I walked away, scrutinize my every move. There were those who watched me in envy of my magic, my position in the castle, or of my beauty. Those were the reasons most kept their eyes on me. Some would watch me from attraction, but would shyly turn their eyes away once I faced them. Very few had the strength to sweep their eyes over my form while I was watching. I knew I inspired lust in many, and I used it to my advantage. But in those situations, I always had the upper hand. In the situation with Kefka, I somehow knew if I wanted the upper hand, I'd have to fight for it. He was the kind whose eyes would wander over me whenever. It mattered not whether I knew he was looking. If I caught him in the act, he would simply grin, smirk, laugh, something of the sort. He had no shame. It was strange, refreshing. But it was also strange knowing that while he admired my form, I could not use it against him. He wasn't that weak. It was his idea to try and capture Squall Leonhardt, one of Zidane's friends, who preferred to travel alone. It seemed like a sound idea, but failed in execution. At the time, I would not admit it, but the lion defeated me far too easily. I was no match. Later, it would occur to me, was I really fighting? Or was I simply acting the role that I had been assigned, without truly wanting to play the part? There were openings the boy had left which I did not exploit. I think he knew that. That was likely why he did not finish me off then and there. Perhaps he knew I was not into the role, so he did not perform his either. After that failure, it became obvious a trap was in order. This plan went perfectly. Zidane certainly wasn't the brains of the family, and his friends weren't exactly geniuses either. I captured Bartz the Mimic, but it seemed I wasn't much enjoying the role of captor either. Kefka and I went to retrieve him from his prison, and I could sense he had already woken up and escaped, hiding nearby. Kefka could as well, I'm sure. Yet somehow I found myself saying something to the effect that he'd disappeared. We'd have to go find him. Kefka played along and Bartz managed to escape. I wasn't sure why suddenly I'd lost the stomach to keep the boy hostage. As for Kefka, he likely thought it would be funny to let a hero run amok in the villain's encampment. Bart certainly did come close to recapture many times, especially when he ran in on a meeting between Sephiroth the Emperor and the time bitch Ultimacia. That was amusing, to say the least. As time passed, I began to realize that while I did not want to join my foolish brother and the light, I was not enjoying the dark activities I was engaged in. I had lost my fire, my interest waning. I simply didn't care anymore. Which made me wonder, if that was the case, what kept Kefka from leaving? Let's see. As long as the music doesn't overlap your voice and you don't get copyright striked. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be using, like, official music from the series or anything. Just, I have a lot of free-to-use music, a very large library of it that I use for videos. Play Kanye on loop. That would be something, but, I don't think we could do that. Oh, man. Thank you guys, for the folks donating. Thank you so much. All right. Foolish monkey. He fell for the same trap twice. There's a town somewhere missing their idiot. Maybe we should box Zidane up and send him back. Seems like his brother got all the brains, but not the guts. He backed out of every plan we made. I knew it. I was watching. He let the emo boy and the stupid wanderer go, and he doesn't get why. It's easy to see why. It's the whole reason I joined Kuja in the first place. Kuja isn't light or dark. He might hate his brother, but that is the only reason he was sided with Chaos in the first place. Kuja's like me. He's on his own, for himself, not for any side. He no longer feels like doing bad things because he doesn't care. He's not evil, not good. He simply wants to destroy anything that gets in his way. There's a difference. There's the person plotting for power and glory who will kill to get what he wants. Now that's pure evil. That's the real bad stuff. Then there's me and Kuja. We simply want to kill whatever we hate and enjoy life's simple pleasures of death and destruction. For me, I just want to cause insane chaos and death everywhere. As for Kuja, he doesn't know what he wants anymore. He wanted to destroy everything when he was dying. Why should everyone else live when I die, he thought. And I totally agree. But that phase is done. Gone. Checkmark the box. Lovely Kuja's not dying anymore, and he has nothing to tie him to the living world but a cheeky little monkey named Zidane. So what does a powerful mage with nothing to do use his power for? Don't worry your little head, Kuja. Stop going all emo on me about not caring anymore. Don't you see that's the point? Don't care! Don't care. Laugh it all away and destroy it when it doesn't matter anymore. Ha-ha! Kuja. He wasn't the only one of our happy little chaos family I could have joined with. There were others, some who were like Kuja and I. I could have helped one of them. They would have heeded my plans better, caused more destruction. So why didn't I? Why stay with the androgynous mage who can't decide what to do with himself? Because such power, such beauty, it would be terrible to let it go all to waste. Oh God, I just made myself laugh looking at the image. Oh man, okay. God, oh man, I need coffee. This is all so much. I wrote this when I was 16, at the height of my foolish horniness. He reminds me a bit of Joker. Yes, the comparisons are there, and lots of folks have made them. Kefka's interesting if you've played 6, which I had not at the time. I only knew him through Dissidia, but in 6, he actually, succeeds at destroying the world. He becomes a god, all this stuff happens. But he's basically the Joker if he was a Final Fantasy enemy. Very, very similar. Kefka's presence is sharp, acrid, like spicy peppers. I could always tell when he was nearby watching me. Usually he didn't stay in the shadows very long. His personality was the type that needed to be known, so he always announced himself eventually. Hello, Kuja! Isn't it just a fine day for death and destruction? Somehow, his proclamation made me chuckle. He would say something similar nearly every day. Good morning, Kefka. Why was it that, unlike the presence of anyone else on the side of chaos, Kefka did not drive me up a wall? It would seem like he would be the one to annoy me most of all. But unlike the others, Kefka wasn't fake or foolish. People like the Emperor, who pretend to know all and are always plotting for themselves. I hate them. They will join your side and then kill you in the same breath. And those like Golbez, who remain on our side, insisting they're so dark, when it's obvious to anyone they have the purest heart, they annoy me greatly. If you have the ability to bask in the warmth of the light, then do it. There are some who can't. Cloud of Darkness and Exdeath are elemental. They simply want to return all to nothing. They bore me. Sephiroth is easy to deal with. All he really wants is to torment his Cloud when he's not fucking him. Jecht, too, is simple. He doesn't care about the light or dark. He simply wants the chance to battle with his son, and when it's over, return home with him. Those two were easy for me to get on with. But Kefka was easier. Why? I think it partly had to do with his tendency to the theatrical. I do love the theater, and certainly am theatrical myself. We had that in common. And hate. I could never forget the hate we both had, which brought us together in the first place. Always thinking, aren't we? Kefka's voice took me out of my thoughts. His painted face appeared upside down in my line of vision. He was floating above me, a big grin on his face, as usual. The way he floated brought our faces close together, and I did my best not to let this bother me. I frowned at him. One of us has to spend time plotting. You seem to simply let whims take you. The madman leaned away, belly laughing. But it wasn't my schemes that got us this far in the first place. That idiot Bart is on his way to your little brother right now with our last trap. Then it'll be your chance to finally get rid of him. Kefka laughed again. It's too perfect. One stupid mistake, and the boy will get his best friend killed. How horrible! How wonderful. He kept laughing. As he laughed, I tried to compose myself. Why was my heart beating faster? Oh, God. Oh, any and all gods out there, give me the strength. Give me the strength to survive this. The writings of a horny 16-year-old who is about to write about how a clown and a theater kid want to fuck each other. Amen. I had never been intimate with anyone. Yes, I had used my beauty to get what I wanted, but never so far as to take anyone to my bed. I had died a virgin. and it cared very little that I had. Most people were too frightened of me to get close to me. Kefka was not most people. He invaded my personal space all too often, and I admit it frightened me. Closeness, intimacy, things I had never experienced with anyone. I was angered, curious, scared all at once, because of some clown. The man had stopped laughing, and I noticed he was now grinning. In an instant, his face was in front of mine again, and too late, he noticed I had flinched, leaning away from him. That made him laugh. His breath collided with my face. It wasn't horrible. It was warm. Scared, Master Mage? He asked, leaning ever closer. I couldn't stop myself from backing away. It angered me that I had been reduced to this, so I quickly summoned up the magic to use Flare Star. In an instant, the space in front of me exploded, but when the dust cleared, Kefka was nowhere to be seen. Now that's not how to treat your comrades, is it? The clown was floating upside down a few feet away, hands on his hips while he shook them back and forth. I tried to think of words to say as my anger surfaced again. He was treating me like a fool. Don't test me, clown. I'm as powerful as you, perhaps more. For emphasis, I used Seraphic's star, which he dodged too easily. Oh, I know. Now he was standing right behind me. I jumped, flipping around to face him as I let another flare star explode. He laughed at my reaction. I was beginning to get truly angry. Would I ever ally myself with someone lower than me? He asked, now walking up the side of the giant sword in the middle of the area we were in, Dream's End. It was the remains of a large sports arena with a platform floating in the middle. I watched as Kefka flipped around and balanced himself on top of the sword. He giggled again, and hatred surged through me. Was he trying to taunt me? What are you doing, Kefka? I tried to ask calmly. My aura was beginning to surge red. Are you trying to frighten me or piss me off? He burst into laughter again. You are powerful, little mage. Very powerful. The clown's smile turned into an exaggerated frown, which reminds me of the stage mask representing tragedy. It saddens me to see your mighty power so wasted, he sighed, dancing to the left as he did. All day, all night, you wander everywhere, floating about with a sigh like some lovelorn goddess. The word goddess enraged me further, as it reminded me of how often I was accused of being a woman. I threw a ball of energy at him, then another and another, but he danced and flipped around each one, laughing the whole time. What are you here for, almost said Kefka like he was talking to himself. What are you here for, Kuja? He asked, suddenly appearing on the ground again. Why are you in this war if you aren't going to fight, to kill, to destroy everything? Things I didn't want to remember began to surface, and I shut my eyes. Because I'm tired, I told him. I'm tired of all that. It bores me. I killed enough people during my lifetime to satisfy me. Enough! Kefka suddenly leapt at me, and I leapt away to the stands, actually frightened. I wasn't sure what he was capable of, and I didn't like how close he was getting. The man extended his arms and laughed again. Ha! Enough, he says! He speaks to an invisible audience, walking in circles and gesturing to the empty stands. The little mage thinks there's an end to the amount of death that can be handed out. He thinks there's an end to the craving for power, for destruction. At this, Kefka leapt up and floated in the... Hello, folks joining us. We have another horrible, terrible spelling error, typo, whatever. Clearly, I did not double-check anything I wrote, because I wrote... Kefka leapt up and floated in the arm, sweeping his arms out. Not air, he floated in the arm. He floated in the arm. Little Kuja thinks that the urge to kill can just be bound up in a box and tucked away. He flew at me, and this time I wasn't fast enough. Do you really think you can live the rest of your life like a goody two-show, keeping your anger and your hate inside, letting it eat you up without releasing it on something, without killing, without destroying? You who once in anger destroyed an entire planet? Shocked, I lashed out, thoroughly enraged by the reminder. How do you know that? I screamed, throwing spell after spell at him. We were both flying now as I chased after him, and he cackled the whole way. How do you know? But it was brilliant, the whole planet gone in a flash. As he floated on his back, arms behind his head, he wondered, is it just a coincidence that the name of the planet you destroyed and the name of the girl who keeps thwarting my plans is the same? He looked at me as if I had the answer. I cast a flare star in his face. This one hit him, and he was flung into the stands, crashing through them. I stopped flying, floating above, watching to see him reappear. I knew this was suicide. We might not be close to evenly matched in power, but Kefka was a kind of man I was not. He enjoyed the killing, the madness, and I didn't know if I did. I was no longer sure. An angry surge of magic destroyed more of the arena, and before I knew what happened, Kefka had me round the throat, and I was slammed into the stands on the other side, Kefka leaning over me. We were touching, body to body. Fear and something else I hadn't felt before made my heart rush. It made my heart rush. What is my heart rushing to? How is my heart rushing? What does this mean? What planet Kuja destroyed? So in Final Fantasy IX, there's a part where the whole story's about two planets, Terra and Gaia. And Kuja's from Terra, and it's like dying, and his dad did some horrible things to try and save it. And Kuja gets really pissed when he learns about some stuff, and he blows it up. It was a major plot point in Final Fantasy IX. It's been a while since I've played it, so I don't remember all the circumstances, but he blew up a planet. Not the main one, but a different one. Do you really think you can be one of the good guys? Kefka asked me. His grip was iron, and for a moment I stopped thrashing. He leaned closer, whispering, do you really think you can live the rest of your life as one of those ignorant, peaceful little plebeians after you've had a taste of real power? I had wondered that too. He didn't give me a chance to speak. Look at the guys on the other side. Do you want what they have? His lips were next to my ear, so close I could feel him speaking. No doubt purple lipstick would be left on my skin. Those idiots fight because they're told to, and when it's over, they go home to wives and children and responsibility, and they sigh. They remember the good old days when everyone loved them as heroes, and they spent their time kicking ass and saving the day. Kefka leaned back a little so I could see his eyes. They were strangely sane. They're bored, just like you are. They want it too, the chaos, the death. They want us to be evil, so they have a reason to fight, to kill. They're just like us. But they've convinced themselves they're good. They only kill for a reason. But they're deluded idiots. They're just like us. They just don't have the guts to kill and destroy freely like we do. His words made no sense, and yet they did somehow. But I couldn't see Zidane in that light. Some of the heroes might have been just as Kefka said, but not Zidane. He never did want to fight. He wasn't a saint. He was a thief, a liar, a ladies' man who couldn't remember which girl he was supposed to date that night. He wasn't a deluded madman who wanted a reason to kill me. He didn't even want to kill me in the first place. A realization came to me then, though likely not the one Kefka had hoped I would realize. I realized I had been wrong. This whole time, I had hated Zidane for returning to kill me again. But I realized he didn't want to. He was looking for the crystal so he could protect those he loved and go home. He fought me because I kept it from him. I thought about the night of my death, when Zidane and I had made our peace. And I realized he didn't want to fight me at all, and I didn't want to fight him either. I was simply jealous he had a goal, a reason. What reason did I have? I had no crystal to retrieve, no loved ones to protect. I no longer wanted to be on the side of chaos, but I was not on Cosmos' side either. What was my purpose? I didn't realize I had asked the question out loud until Kefka laughed. Your purpose. Purpose? Pah! The little helpless boy needs someone to tell him why he's alive. Well, don't worry, little Kuja. Your good pal Kefka is here to lend a helping hand. See, what Kuja doesn't get is there's no purpose at all. There's no reason for anything. There's just death and dying, that's all. And in the middle of all that, we do whatever the hell we want. Some of us lie to ourselves, and there's a bigger reason for everything. So we try to defend the peace and protect the innocent. But there's no such thing as peace or innocent. Kuja's problem is a lack of interest. Nothing interests him anymore. He's too good for it. I agree, this stupid war with chaos is no longer interesting. I'm tired of these idiots trying and failing to kill each other every day. These stupid heroes had better find the crystals quick so the real fun can begin. Maybe I could just steal the crystals and give them to the good guys. Wouldn't that be a hoot? The only thing keeping me interested right now is the beautiful, hopeless little mage who can't decide if he wants to kill his little brother or return home with him. Both options are boring. I think we have a very upset dog downstairs. We'll take a quick break and I'll go see what's up with Puppy. Because the last time I was recording, and she barked so much, you could actually hear her in the recording. Yeah, I hear Doggo, I go get Doggo. Doggo! Yeah, she likes to spend part of the day upstairs with me, and that's what she'll do, is she'll go to the bottom of the stairs and just bark until she gets my attention, but obviously she can't come in here right now. Okay, back. Where was I? Let's see, here we go. Kuja's got it all wrong. He's such a strong mage, almost as good as me, and it's all going to go to waste if I don't remind him why he exists in the first place. Don't you remember? I asked, leaning very close. He was aroused by it. I could tell by his eyes he didn't even know he was. So ignorant he didn't realize what he was feeling. Huh? Such a cute little virgin. You were created as an angel of death. That's your purpose. To kill, to destroy, to get rid of anything and everything in your path. How his angelic little face twisted when I said that. He was pissed. I was beginning to see the true angel of death. He threw me off easily, and I flipped to a stop in the air. Ho-ho! The little one was glowing red, teeth gritted. Looked like I'd pushed all the right buttons. When Kuja finally looked at me, the most beautiful look of hatred and anger was in his eyes. Wonderful. You want? He began, a small grin coming to his face. You want to see the angel of death? He asked, arms flinging out. Oh, here we go. I clapped my hands together in glee. Yay! Now the fun can really begin. I squealed. A burst of red magic swept through the arena. Kuja was floating midair, his cute little hooker outfit replaced by red fur, and a demonic grin covered his face. Wonderful! Two can play at the game of power! As I shouted, I switched forms. Two angelic wings appeared at the top of my back, two demonic ones at the bottom, and my skin turned dark gray as I became a god. A battle of God versus angel. Blood, death, and destruction. Kuja, do you really think you don't want this? Do you really want to spend the rest of your days slowly dying by boredom in a homely little town with a stupid family full of idiotic slaves who do whatever their noble leader tells them? This perfect, beautiful form of power. Do you really want to throw it away? To hide your magic in your tail forever? To try and live like a normal human? You aren't normal. Don't try to be. You're not like them even if you want to be. You're an angel of death. That is your purpose. Now show me. Fight, kill, destroy. Turn everything to ashes. Ha 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 ha. Oh boy. God. So yeah, they both have extra forms. That's what they look like. And that's a Dissidia fighting. Actually from the new one, not from the original one. This is set in the first Dissidia, and there's 3. But, yeah, Kefka turns into a god-looking guy, and Kuja turns into a furry Oh, God, we're so close. We're so close. Oh, geez. Okay. I just need a minute. These voices are a little more demanding than usual. Woo! Oh, thank you. I used to, I've talked about, I did chorus, I did some theater in school, and I really enjoyed it, but the schools I went to didn't really have a very big, program, they weren't well funded, there really wasn't a theater program in my high school, and then when I went to college, there was nothing, not at all, so unfortunately, I never did anything with it, but I have 4 or 5 years of experience of both. I even took private singing lessons at one point, but that ended in, middle school. Okay. As I floated above the ground in my other form, I watched as Kefka changed into his. Why were we doing this? What was the purpose? Anger had blinded me, and I must admit it was refreshing. For a moment, I decided to stop worrying about the purpose and the why. Kefka and I were fighting because we wanted to, no other reason. For once, I was free from anxiety. I waited for him to change, though I don't think I could really have taken him by surprise. Once his wings unfurled, I flew at him, charging a spell as I did. I started shouting and did not stop until my voice was hoarse. We shed each other's blood and laughed, a god and a fallen angel, destroying all in our path and turning it to dust. Madness took us to the other side, where only power ruled and there was no such thing as sanity. That's such a middle school line. Oh, God. We did what we wanted, and we destroyed the arena. It would be recreated by the magic of this universe soon enough. Laughter echoed all around, and some of it was mine. I felt free. I was the true angel of death, sentencing all to oblivion, and it felt wonderful. Kefka had managed to pull me into his beliefs, to convince me of his truths. And like the beautiful, foolish princess of the old fairy tales, I had fallen into Kefka's arms without a fuss, and he knew it. I had become death, just like he wanted. Nothing mattered, good or bad. My brother was miles away, about to fall for a trap I had set in order to kill him, because that was the role I was supposed to play. There cannot be a hero without an enemy. Without darkness, there is no light, and there cannot be a performance without both. I had found my purpose, and that was to act out my role as best I could when the time came. Until then, I would be chaos incarnate, death and destruction. And when it was time for Zidane to act out his role as the hero, and take my life for the sake of the light, I would accept my death with grace, as only I could. Okay, let's see here. What's the next image? Whee! For hours and ages we battled on, and my beautiful little monkey kept his form for a record amount of time. We were evenly matched until his magic faded and he reverted to his old self. I still remained a god. Well, I'm always a god. Ha ha! He kept fighting, and as brave as that was, he could never win. He might be as strong as me, but he's hardly tenacious unless you really get him fired up. And I could see his anger was fading. But that was fine. He hadn't run out of his uses yet. Kuja knew he was done too. Unlike me, he bores of mindless violence quickly. Kuja's the type to stay in the background, moving the pieces and delighting in manipulation. Nothing wrong with that. But in battle, he's no match for the master. The man began falling towards the ground, unable to summon up the magic to simply float, but I swept down and caught him like he was a feather. I didn't stop. We soared through the air away from Dream's End, and like an itty-bitty baby, Kuja wrapped his arms round my neck and held on for dear life. It wasn't like he hadn't flown before. I couldn't be that bad a flyer. I only flipped around 10 or 20 times. It didn't take long to arrive at our destination. I flapped my wings a few times and actually managed to land rather gracefully. Kuja didn't seem to appreciate it. The little jerk just glared at me. What did I do? Once he was standing on his own, he turned to look at me. His eyes moved, widened, turned away, and he blushed. Oh, I saw that. Did you just check me out? I asked. How convenient that in my god form, the only clothing I wear is a red cloth around my waist, which could be disposed of quickly enough. Hee hee. I wiggled my eyebrows at him. He frowned. I did not. And even if I did, it's not like you don't check me out all the time, he shouted back. The kitten has claws. I moved to stand in front of him. I could hear his lungs heaving. What is he? Oh, God. Was it from the battle we just had, or... Just delightful. Kuja's eyes left me, but he kept glancing back, and he backed away. Ooh, someone's having trouble accepting their sexuality. Actually, from the look of his clothes, or lack of, maybe not. I took a step forward, and he took one back. Fear and nervousness was what I got from him, but there was something else too. He wanted it, but he was nervous. Just like he'd thought he could live without power, Kuja had tried living without passion. But I inspired it in him, I knew I did. That scared the shit out of him. It looked like I would have to show Kuja the truth once again. Oh, God. Oh, God. How could I have known that beneath the foolish gestures attire, Kefka Palazzo truly did have the body of a god? Masculine, tall and built, he seemed the epitome of male perfection, though his skin's dark gray color made him seem slightly inhuman. And his eyes, it was easier to see his hate through these eyes. But on this day, I saw something else there as well. Something that made me uneasy and yet excited. He approached me and my nerves made me jump back. Yet, he did not laugh at me. I could tell he was beginning to take on a more serious tone, and that worried me. Kefka was never serious. What in the world could we have to talk about that would demand a serious tone? My hands were shaking, but my long sleeves hid that fact. The first clue that he was sobering up was the fact he smirked instead of grinned. Like a predator, he approached me slowly, wings stretched out behind him. I was intimidated, and I hated it. I wanted to kill him. You are quite beautiful, he whispered. It didn't quite sound like him. His long blonde hair had somehow fallen free of its ties. He looked more like an angel, with the hair strewn around his neck. I backed up again and hit something, and when I turned I saw it was one of the glass structures that filled Kefka's tower. So he'd taken me back to his place. Wonderful. Just as I realized, I suddenly felt him pressing against me. My breath hitched in my throat. Why are you doing this? I could barely whisper. Kefka leaned his head down, and I felt his labored breathing against... Why is everyone breathing so hard? Why the interest in me? He laughed against my skin, his arms slowly trailing over my ribcage until they rested under my shoulders. I shivered against him, and he held me tighter. Even madness can recognize a kindred spirit. He spoke softly before nibbling on my earlobe. Before this, I never would have described the gesture as someone who could be gentle. His hands began massaging my upper back as his lips traveled down my throat. I was afraid, but also curious. I couldn't have stopped even if I wanted to, and I certainly did not want it. And it was thus I spent my first night of lovemaking with a god. I'm crying. Oh my god. Oh god. I remember thinking this was good. I remember being impressed when I wrote this and thinking this is deep and interesting. I have written something mature. I remember thinking that. Oh my god. Ah! Ah! Oh my god. Oh man. It's not over. Oh, it's not over. Oh man, we have so long to go before we sleep. Death and pain are a different kind of pleasure than passion, but they are pretty similar once you get down to it. Both are attempts to control, to be dominant, to have power over everything. The results of Kuja's little struggle against me was his beautiful clothing in rags thrown everywhere. I was never one for being gentle, hee. But it wasn't my fault it got so rough. The kitten did most of the instigating. Such a little rascal. We were both sprawled, butt naked, over the cold steel floor, our clothes so torn up they'd never be worn again. How did one go about getting replacement for clothing in realms such as this? There weren't exactly department stores. Then again, what fun it would be to fight the warriors of light stark naked! It would be brilliant! Except for Kuja. He should never do that. No. Speaking of, the little actor turned towards me, arms above his head, still breathing hard. He looked me over, hee, and then smirked. So, what is this? Grinning, I turned onto my stomach and rested my chin on my hands. Well, when a mommy and a daddy love each other a whole bunch. Kuja retorted dryly, I get that. Then his look softened. Oh, he's so purty. Is that what this is? Love? I thought you hated everything. The comment actually surprised me. Well, it didn't really. I knew he'd ask. What was surprising was I didn't know the answer anymore. So I thought about it. And I thought. Kefka. Oh, the kitten's getting impatient. Whoops. So I smiled and turned towards him. You're right. I do hate everything. I hate it all. I hate chaos. I hate cosmos. I hate good. I hate bad. I hate dark and hate light, and I hate it all, and I hate... Do you hate me? Kuja asked. There was no emotion in his voice. It was just a question. Nope. He was shocked. Oh, he's so cute when he's surprised. Hee. So to surprise him more, I leaned forward and planted a soft kiss on his nose. He turned scarlet. Hate everything. Not you. I smiled. Kuja rolled his eyes after a minute. You befuddle me, clown. Hee. You banged once. Why are you talking about love? Right? So much is happening. Listen. I was 16 and apparently having sex meant you're in love immediately, obviously. God, this image is horrifying. I just realized that image I made is an image of Kefka wearing a bra, and that's gonna haunt me. That is gonna haunt me. Whew, okay. For all Kefka's attempts to drag me into darkness, it seemed his work had pushed me the other way. What irony. If it had been happening to him, he likely would have laughed. Just as I knew he would, my precious brother fell for my trap. He appeared in the crystal world, and I went to face him. I could feel Kefka nearby, hovering, watching the performance. Don't worry, mad clown. I won't disappoint. I did fight my brother tooth and nail. He'd gotten stronger, but so had I. Our battle raged on, spilling blood all around. I knew that wherever he was hiding, Kefka was delighted. I could feel it. Delight filled me as well. I was living my purpose. Once Zidane had proven his worth and defeated me, my role would be done and I could finally rest. I was so tired. It would be nice not to have to fight and plot anymore. My brother defeated me and I smiled. A surprised look came to his face, which faded quickly to sadness. I had been right. He didn't want to kill me. Seeing the proof made my heart soar and my smile brightened even as I died. It seems the curtains are finally falling, I told him, resting on one knee. When I glanced up at him, unshed tears made his eyes shine. What could you be sorrowful over? You've won your crystal, haven't you? He looked away to hide the fact that tears now coated his face. Crystal, he muttered. I murdered my brother for a rock. He chuckled. I shook my head. You defeated your enemy to protect your loved ones. My voice began growing weaker as I fell to the ground. Zidane ran forward and caught me, his arms under mine. After I caught my breath, I glanced up again. Forgive me, I told him. I coughed. My pride kept me from joining you on the other side. That wasn't all, but that was all I could tell him. He shook his head. I was the proud one. I should have tried to find you and talk to you or something. He was terribly shaken, and it hurt me. Here I thought I could die without pain, when suddenly I found myself aching for the one I was to leave behind. And Zidane was not the only one, to my great shock. I could feel Kefka nearby, and was amazed his aura had changed. I was sure that as long as he could enjoy the chaos in battle, he would not care if I died. But his aura was so low. It was no longer bright and ecstatic. What irony. Kefka spent so much time with me, and I had managed to make him mourn. Zidane, take it. The crystal appeared in my hand, and I handed it to him. He looked into my eyes, and I felt a tear fall upon my cheek. I may never have been a warrior of the light, but you are my light. You had better succeed, little brother. I will be very upset if you don't." He chuckled half-heartedly, but he took the crystal. I felt relieved. I was free to die. As my eyes shut, I fell into the final sleep. Thoughts of only two people swam through my murky mind. Thoughts of a thief and a jester. Can I sue for emotional distress? I mean, you're valid, and I won't fight it, because you're right. I've done some horrible things here. Oh, man, I've done horrible things. I'm so sorry. Is there someone mowing outside? I think someone drove by in a big truck or something. Unfortunately, these walls at this new place are really thin. I'm gonna have to look into some soundproofing here. Because the old house was, I'm guessing because it was made in a much earlier period, the walls were thicker. I don't know. But you can definitely hear freaking everything in this house. What does death matter? What does anything matter? Every pretty little flower, every cute little baby, it's all the same decaying matter that dies a little bit each time it takes a breath. It's all going to disappear. None of it matters anyway. It's all nothing. Everything is nothing. It's all death, destruction, despair, and I hate it! I hate it! I hate love and joy. I hate sex. I hate pretty girlish eyes and feathers and actors. I hate actors and theater and Shakespeare and those girly thespians. Whew, I need a breather from all that hating. Hatred's so simple. It's fire that turns everything black, makes it all easier to deal with. Why love and live with complications when hate is so much fun? It's easy to be elemental. Cloud of darkness and X-Death might be onto something there. They simply exist to fulfill a function, a task given to them by those good old all-seeing assholes in the sky. Turn all of existence into nothing. That sounds like fun. It's not so easy being human. Humans don't get that luxury. They aren't told when they're born what they're gonna do with the rest of their miserable existences. So instead they get to spend the rest of their lives fucking it all up trying to figure it out. And they get hurt, and they get sad, and they cry. So I figure, why not be more elemental? Become hate. Hate everything, and the flames fill you up until hatred is all you are. There are no decisions to be made, no sadness to feel, because hate does not make decisions. It does not feel. It is hate. And what does hate do? It hates! Hate, hate, hates! So, I became elemental. I escaped my humanity in the simplest way possible by shoving it into the back of my head in a teeny-weeny tiny little box. I let magic fill me, and fueled by hate, I took my world over. After my death, the hatred didn't fade. It simply stopped for a while. When one dies, it doesn't really inspire anything. It's like, oh, I'm dead. Goody. Death didn't last long. So when I came back with that little deal, well, why sign up? What did I care to work with a bunch of stupid lugheads that I hate? Why work for gods that I hate against people I absolutely despise? But what fun it could be, I thought. What games I could play. What toys I could break. I didn't want the game played against me. Ugh, stupid actors. I hate them. Kuja was my toy, and I was going to play with him until he ceased to amuse me or something better came along. He was just supposed to be another plaything to use and toss aside. Another toy to break. He wasn't supposed to break me. No. That's not how it goes. I don't want him to break. I don't want to hate him. I hate everything! Oh, good Lord. Oh, I missed an image. Well, there you go. That's Kefka listening to Evanescence and Morning Kuja. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. Just really take it in. Okay. I'm tired of being an angel of death. I'd rather die for real this time. Are you sure? Who are you? Have you accepted the light? Light? Maybe I should put it this way. Have you accepted your brother? Yes. Do you love him? Yes, more than anything. I awoke to surroundings that were more chaotic than usual. Hey, that tickles! Don't toy with us, you stupid clown! Why don't you go back to the beach already? I could feel a migraine setting in. I began sitting up. Suddenly it became quiet, and I was aware most of the eyes in the area were on me. All 10 of the warriors of light were on the right and left of me. I was surrounded by heroes. At the far end of the circle stood Kefka, bouncing on one foot as usual, with Squall, Titus, and Terra right beside him, weapons drawn. My eyes quickly left Zidane, who was sitting beside me with a giant grin, to Kefka. I leapt to my feet, which hurt more than it should have. The world shook, but I ignored it. Kefka! The concern in my voice must have surprised some of those around me, for I saw the confusion on their faces. They didn't matter to me. The clown heard my voice and cheered, leaping into the air into a floating, seated position. Titus and Squall kept their swords drawn. Kuja, darling, you're alive! He seemed ecstatic. I was so frightened you'd left me. His giant grin became a pout. I was surprised. I thought that was the plan, I told him, arms crossed. Those around us watched curiously, but the only one who came close to me was Zidane. He moved an arm around me to help me stand, and I nodded to show my appreciation. Then I returned to looking at Kefka. Wasn't your plan to use me as long as I amused you and then abandon me to my fate? I asked. At least I had assumed. Kefka let out a deep, playful sigh. I thought so too. The humor left his voice, and his face became neutral. He actually sounded serious for a moment. But if I did that, there wouldn't be a single person in this stupid world I could put up with. Hell, not a single person in the entire universe. That seemed to amuse him, and he slapped his knee. Terra, Kefka's old enemy, watched all of this with apprehension and confusion. More so than the others, she could tell Kefka was acting a little differently. He was perfect when it came to lying, but it almost seemed like he was telling the truth. Kefka, I began, stepping closer, what are you doing here? He looked up. Then he glanced around at the heroes who were watching raptly. What, with these guys? He grinned. Well, after watching your brilliant fight with the monkey, I went off somewhere. Then your pretty little goddess came and gave me a visit. He said this last part to the Guardian of Light. The tall warrior looked shocked. What reason could she have to see you? Kefka's a liar. Don't believe him, Onion Knight interrupted. He glanced at Terra and saw she looked unsure. This seemed to surprise him. I took the chance to speak. Kefka is morally corrupt and chaos incarnate, but he doesn't lie to me. I said this as I looked straight into his eyes. Since when are these two so buddy-buddy? Bartz asked Sissel. The knight shrugged. Kefka giggled. I never lie to Kuja, darling. Anyway, her loyal shininess told me I was no longer welcome on Chaos's side. I blinked. So did many of those surrounding me. Come again? I spoke for the group. He laughed. Apparently, I'm just not enough aligned with him to be Chaos's anymore. Yeah, right, Onion Knight shouted. You're a villain. How can you not be for Chaos? I knew what Kefka's response would be, so I said it for him. He's out for himself, I said. I looked back at him. He's a god without a religion, a master without servants. Amoral, but he doesn't do anything out of true malice. He's like a pest. Kefka pouted when I said that. I say all of this endearingly, of course. I smirked. He clapped his hands together. Oh, Kuja, you're so wonderful. He raced over and put his arm around my shoulder. Get off! I shoved him away. He was embarrassing. It would have been a wonderful moment to take a picture of the warriors of Cosmos, as they were all wearing similar expressions of befuddled confusion and the expression of a parent who'd just walked in on their son making out. But I ignored the warriors other than my brother, who approached Kefka and I. For a moment, a pang of fear went through my heart. So, you're what, dating my brother? It seemed Zidane was having trouble wrapping his head around what Kefka and I were. So was I, ironically. Yep, he's all mine, Kefka was happy to say. I glared at him. How come I wasn't told about this dating thing? But Kuja, darling, didn't you know? I decided to spare myself the insanity and let that one go. Zidane turned to me and smiled. Wow, a boyfriend. Not that I didn't see that coming, but this guy? He motioned to my outfit and then Kefka. I smacked his arm. Hey, the boy laughed. Don't kid yourself. I happen to be a prime specimen. Perfect boyfriend material. As Kefka said this, he posed, first with his arms flexed, and then like a sexy minx, winking his eye. What does that mean? I'm so good, I already tapped that a bunch of times last night. He's a screamer. I've got the bite marks on my ass to prove it. Oh! Oh, God. Everyone around us immediately turned white, blanching, and some proceeded to cover their mouths. Zidane simultaneously looked sick to his stomach and was laughing his ass off. I simply twitched. A familiar red aura flared to life around me. Kefka, I said dryly. Yes, sex kitten? You're dead. The actor and the jester had begun a journey no one could have foreseen. It was a path full of shadow which could lead to light or dark, no one could tell. The jester, still as maniacal as ever, was still liable to fall into darkness. Kuja, attached to the light by his newfound peace and the love he had for his brother, was the only buoy in the sea of shadows Kefka had. Only time would tell if the bond these two formed in hate could ever truly become love. To be continued, question mark? No, it was never continued. I never wrote more of this. The last part is supposed to be like a voiceover, because the Setia side stories always ended with a voiceover from like the voice of God. Expect to hear from my lawyer. Yeah, there's even better. There's a author's note. This is really, really weird, but I like it. These two did team up in Setia. At first it shocked me, but as the game went on, it kind of made sense. And I kept thinking about it, and this was born. The plot bunnies. Blame them, XD. So that was something, and we all survived it, and it's over, so we can be happy about that. We can all praise whatever gods we do or do not worship, that we survived, and it's over, and we did it. And that was Fanfic Friday, True Love Knows No Clown. I wrote that. That's the thing I wrote. I legitimately wrote about them fucking. And apparently Kuja's dick is so good, Kefka decided not to be a bad guy anymore. Which is, that's useful, I guess. Knowing now, because I didn't play Final Fantasy VI before I played Setia, so I knew nothing about Kefka. Knowing about Kefka, this story becomes even more ludicrous. I mean, it was already kind of there, but if you've played 6, it's like, holy shit, this is impossible. This would not exist. This is not anything. Like, a lot of my fanfics, I feel like maybe they're a little weird or a little, like the Wesker and Chris. Like, yeah, it's a little off, but plausible. Like, you can see that there's some tension between the characters. It's anger, but there's tension, This is insane. This is wild. This is not... What a romance, right? This is... I mean, for a 16-year-old... I wrote the story because I was attached to Kuja. I played Final Fantasy IX because of Kuja. Like, you look at that man, he is gay as hell. I loved him. I loved him to death. And so when I played Final Fantasy Setia, one of my favorite parts was that Kuja was in it. I literally bought it because of that. And so Kefka's the only character Kuja interacts with that's not his brother. So my, young gay ass that loved this incredibly gay character was like... What am I gonna do? I guess he fucks a clown now. It's art. Yeah. Well, I'm not wrong, am I, handsome wretch? That was something. We survived it. Yeah, we did. And it's over now. Thank you guys for listening. There's now a actual AO3 page for Fanfic Friday. Oh, nope, that's not the link. Let me get the link. Archive. It doesn't have any stories yet because I'm in the middle of editing and posting them, but all of the stories that we have read so far for Fanfic Friday will be posted there. So if you want to look back in shock and horror at what I wrote, you can do that and all of that. If you have an account on AO3, you can subscribe and it'll just email, anyway, if you use AO3, you know how it works. Thank you guys for joining me. Follow me on social media if you would like to suffer more of me. And thanks to those who donated. It really does help keep the channel going. You can be a monthly supporter through Patreon or YouTube's membership program and get cool bonuses like access to videos early, anime watch parties, which we need to schedule for this week, and free access to digital books, stuff like that, and more stuff coming soon. It's a huge help, and for as little as 99 cents a month, you can get all that and help out the channel. Oh, thank you for joining us, Audrey, and thank you for subscribing. We will be streaming The Evil Within later today. I'm going to take a little break because my voice hurts, so maybe, let's see, probably 3:30, we'll see. We'll be playing that. So yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye. I'm so sorry.